Let's get into the advisory now and get across the latest regulatory changes in philanthropy. Angus Mann from Viola Private Wealth joining me now. Great to see you, Angus.
Thanks,
First
Julia.
time on AusBiz. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
So we've seen the government recently propose changes to rules around charitable giving. What does this mean, particularly when you're structuring financial planning?
Yes, so I think the only certainties in life are sort of death taxes and changes to tax regulations. So the federal government's got a really great but ambitious target of increasing charitable giving in Australia, well, doubling it by 2030. So they had the Productivity Commission undertake a bit of an inquiry, which found that whilst we're really generous here in Australia, we give away a bit over $13 billion a year, the actual proportion of people who are giving to charity has been decreasing a bit. So they've been looking at a few ways of how they can restructure both sides, the charities and the donor side. And one of the main vehicles that high net worth investors have been using is what they call private ancillary funds. Now, it's a name that really only a bureaucrat could love, and thankfully one of the suggestions is that they'll rename them to giving funds. But the basic foundation is they're private foundations. A family can set up their own foundation, get a tax deduction for donating into it, and then give money away over years, and they've got to give away minimum amount 5%. And one of the main suggestions has been that has to increase potentially up to 8%, which has caused a bit of a kerfuffle amongst, I think, donors, advisors in the sector, but certainly those of us on the investment side as well.
Yeah, so how are advisors changing or reacting to the changes?
So the main concern is that we're going to see a lot of these foundations move from being quite conservative investors, trying to generate the 5% plus inflation, which we can do pretty consistently, to potentially people trying to target 8% or maybe more, so that they can leave their foundation as a legacy going for decades or in perpetuity. Mm-hmm. And I think what we're really focused on is making sure that we don't see all these foundations doing great work in supporting charities suddenly losing money, not by giving it away, but by taking on a lot of investment risk.
So what does the changes mean to your clients and to families? How are they reacting?
Yeah, so it's been a bit mixed on the donor side. I think some of them really are a bit upset that the foundation that was either set up by themselves or maybe a previous generation they thought would last forever is no longer potentially going to be doing that. Then there are a lot of people who are quite excited that the charities might be getting money a bit sooner. Mm-hmm. From our side of the fence, I think the concern really is around the risk that we're going to take, and so whilst we'll take a wait and see approach until we know we have to, and there will be a bit of a delay, it's going to actually unfortunately mean that we do dial the risk up a little bit, but try and do it so that we're not actually taking, really punting on these funds that will be going to people in need around Australia and the world.
And speaking of the people in need on the charity side, what are their views? I mean, if they're going to get the money sooner, or does that mean that there's a delay?
So what it will mean is, and it'll be at least a few years down the track, that they should be getting the money a bit sooner. Mm-hmm. There are some other changes proposed which will be really great and help them. So at the moment, only about half the number of charities are out there, so 20,000 from 35 to 40,000 actually qualify as deductible gift recipients to get this money from foundations, and that may well just double. So there are a lot of causes that will now actually be able to see their level of donations rise. The flip side is that at the moment, what foundations are great at is really long-term tied giving that can support a particular cause of a charity. And the money is in the foundation, you can never take it back out, so they can go and work with a cause they care about, find what their immediate need is, and then commit to funding that for a number of years. The risk is that if foundations are forced to start giving a bit too quickly, that they no longer want to target those longer term goals, but they're going to be looking just to push the money out the door a bit sooner to a wider variety of causes.
Why would people choose this vehicle, the PAF, so to speak, rather than just giving directly to charities?
Yeah, so that's a really good one. So the main one that often comes up is the financial aspect and tax. Mm-hmm. So when you donate money into and establish your foundation, you get the tax deduction up front if you want it. And so families who've sold a business and have a big capital gains tax bill, or a family member's passed away and they realise they don't need all the money they're inheriting, may set it up, get the tax deduction then and there when they need it. But more often we're seeing that families want to have that long-lasting impact, and knowing that there's a lot of structure around how they give money. So they're not just picking a cause they like this year, they'll put a deep dive into the causes that matter, pick the charities that matter, then negotiate with them on how they're going to put the money at use. What we're also seeing, and I think it's really great, is that they're using it as a way of bringing the family together. And from our side of the fence, it's also really good from the education perspective around investments. And so we're seeing families get the grandchildren as young as 7 to 10 involved and making them think about the broader world, people who aren't as fortunate as they are, and acknowledging that, look, we're privileged, who can we help out there? And so we're actually getting the grandkids picking a topic, going off, trying to find a few charities that they like and want to support, and coming back and reporting to their parents, grandparents, aunts and uncles around where they think the family's money should be going.
And I guess when people are setting up these funds, what should they be mostly mindful of?
Yes, so I think, look, you've got to have the right reasons for doing it. Obviously I said taxes a lot, but it's thinking about what matters to the family and then having a lot of structure around it and identifying those causes up front. So you don't set it up, have all the money in there, then all of a sudden you have to give it away and everyone's rushing to find a charity that they don't mind. And I'd also really encourage them to think about the fact that most of the money that's given to charities really is given to a concentrated number of large, big name charities that we can all think of. I said at the moment there are 25,000 out there that can be supported. Most people couldn't name 24,950 of them. So really think about what matters, but also then work on how you can actually get some impact from it. So don't just give the money away and hope it goes to a cause, but engage with the charity, get to know each other, figure out what you want from the money, not just how it's going to be spent, but what does success look like? And then work on a way of how they report that back to you so that you can continue supporting these causes for many years.